Hello, ghouls and gravestones and unzoned cemeteries. It's spooky season according to the shops, and have I got a spooky model kit to show you? It's Satan's Crate from the Weird-ohs re-release in 2012 or somewhere around there because it got re-released like 3 times. As you can see, Satan is riding a hot-rodded coffin and holding a big pitchfork. Uh, I'm sorry, is that a pig? We were really building the fat pig model first. Looks like we've had a haunted miscommunication and built Road Hog instead. This better be slightly interesting. The Road Hog model kit was released by Lindbergh in 1964 as a Lindy Looney's model, which was Lindbergh's answer to the Weird-ohs line from Hawk. It is definitely the HEP model in the quote square unquote box. In 1971, it was re-released as Fat Max in a glow-in-the-dark version as part of the Bad Wheels line, again from Lindbergh, and finally come to the Hawk re-release from 2012, which ironically is in the Weird-ohs line and now called the Road Hog. Unfortunately, though, this one is not glow-in-the-dark. And that is not the only thing that has changed. The kit is actually 26 pieces with the instructions crossing out the cigar, but it's still on the sprue. Now that we've gone through all the history with this little kit, let's get to it. First thing I do is unbox the kit and determine whether I want to paint on the sprue or not. And then I want to figure out if I am priming. With this one, I'm going to cut all the pieces off the sprues and paint them by hand until I have a smooth looking paint job that matches the box, and I'm not going to prime. This isn't a tutorial, because if it were, I would tell you to wash the sprues and then prime them. Anyways, back to the model. I'm looking at the manual and ignoring the paint calls because I'm going to make the model from the box, not what's called out in the manual. It's a little bit different. After I cut the pieces loose, I take a file and a knife and I cut/file away any flash or plastic that is not supposed to be there. Once this is done, I start building up paint layers. I'm aiming for a toy that you could purchase from the 70s and 90s, which is why I don't care about seams, because I'm trying to evoke a certain time period with the finished model. If you want a more realistic model, prepping every edge is the most important step, and I'll cover a little bit more of what you would want to do if you wanted a more realistic model later in this. After sanding, I start to test fit parts, and that's where problem number 1 comes in. Midway through fitting things together, I realized I was missing 3 pieces. Namely, the steering column, the gear shift rod, and the nose. So I filled the nose up with, there was a hole, with red Bondo, which I normally use for filling things because it's cheap and strong. And then I rated the base. So this figure has a base that it's supposed to sit on, and I just took the parts, sans one. So basically there's 2 rods on a base. I took the rods because they were about the right size for the 2 pieces I was missing. So I decided that it would be better if the Road Hog looked like it ripped out the wheel and shifter from the vehicle. So that was what I was aiming for, except for I didn't think about the fact that the shifting rod was going to be hanging down because it's supposed to go down into the actual, into the front of the car. So I just cut it jagged and it looks alright. No one's going to notice, so now that I've said it, but before that, probably wouldn't have noticed. So once everything was painted and super glued together, it was ready for the final step. Which takes us to self-inflicted problem number 2. I used a Florex to get my desired look, but it had been a while since I had made a model, about a year, and I forgot that I like to go in with a brush or a brush and cover each part of the model until I'm happy with the look. Be that thick, small, thick or thin amounts, whatever it is. That's normally what I do. But my brain told me to just submerge the model in Florex for an hour. I should also mention that I pretty much exclusively use cheap acrylic paint and rely on the Florex for the smooth and tough finish. So let's cut to that. I don't have a ton of footage of this, but any paint on the model that was submerged was falling off and mixed with the wax. It was just a big mess. Looked like it was just trying to completely come off. After I decided not to quit and do something else, I instead went forward with it and figured out if I let it dry, I could repaint what came off and then reseal it with some more wax, which was the initial problem in the first place. But anyways, that hopefully will fix the problem, but it did take hours of just touching up, coming back, fixing it. And so yeah, don't do what I did. Don't just submerge it. Do better. So anyways, after that nightmare, it was time to replace the cigar. Let's that's problem number 3. So, while test fitting the cigar that actually goes in his mouth, I was, it fit really well, and then it didn't, and then it went in. And now it's permanently inside, and I don't want to break it, and I don't want to pull it apart and, risk breaking the ears. So it's like an old toy where it has a piece broken off inside. Now we had to make a new cigar, so let's get to that footage. So I ended up taking some extra sprue, painting it brown, painting the end to match kind of a cigar. 2 layers of brown, and then the 1 layer that I was doing of the gray. So here's what it finally looks like. And there's more touch-up to do back there, so that's what we're gonna look at here. I'm happy it's alive, basically, but there's the back touched up. I left the white on the inside of the tire, so it looks more like a toy. But it's gonna need some more work. This is where we're at with it. I'm happy. It's gonna look good on a lit up and sitting on a shelf, but could have looked better. But it's a miracle it came out as good as it did. So you can see the all the little things I had to do to it just to get it here where it is. But he's there. He's done. A little cut on there that's just built in. I don't know what it's for. I think it's just to mimic the other side, but on the shoulders basically. And so like I said, I'm happy with the paint. It looks like a toy, and the nose, you can see where the filler is. I probably could have done another layer of filler. I just didn't want to once stuff went awry, but that's he here. To wind things up, I just wanted to say thank you for sticking around. It means a lot. This model hardly has any online presence, and I wanted to show it off and get a video up on YouTube for preservation. If you Google this thing, there's like 3 pictures that of the actual build, not of the model box. So the actual build. Really like these old figure kits. I don't think they're super popular, but they're not expensive. They go together relatively easily. And this little video clip I got going on in the background here is just to kind of show you how it still needs a lot of work. It can look good. You can do a model and make it look good. So it's more like a 10-foot away model though. So take that for what it is. It definitely has some issues, especially on the back. Normally I would try to knock those out. I just didn't want to repaint it over and over and over again. The second of 3 things, I wanted to apologize for the sound levels in this thing. It's so hot right now, and I was just like, I'm not turning that AC off. So that is why we have some problems. I'm gonna adjust it some more and see if I can get it, okay. Yeah, I totally forgot we were gonna talk about actually doing things correctly for a finished model. First thing, make sure that you have all the pieces. That's majorly good thing to do. But secondly, cut everything from the sprue and then fit everything together and then start sanding it down and then use a glue that you prefer. Get that all in there. Sand out any glue that comes out. Sand it, sand it, sand it, sand it. That's the biggest step. Sanding, sanding, sanding until it's smooth, looks good. There are no seams where there shouldn't be any seams. And hiding ones is good too. That includes knowing where your stuff is going. Once you've done that, start painting and probably use an airbrush, honestly, or a spray can, something like that. And that way you get smoothness. And that's your main things. The sanding is the big, seriously, sand. Anyways, have a good one. Goodbye.